India, a swarm of mosquitoes creates tornado-like formations in the sky.
Experts say the formation of the mosquito tornado is attributed to the increased water levels of the Mula-Mota River. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. The Department of Foreign Affairs condemns China over the continued misinterpretation of law on the West Philippine Sea. The Philippines donates 5 million pesos for Myanmar's post-cyclone Mocha recovery. The United States seeks at least 6-week ceasefire in the Gaza Strip after a meeting with Jordan's king. In Sweden, the water park management issued a mass evacuation order after a fire hits Oceania Waterworld in Gothenburg. And find out the nominees in the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Las Vegas, Nevada,
España,
Paris, France,
United Kingdom,
Washington, D.C.,
London Bureau,
Papua New Guinea,
in New York,
Washington, D.C.
Mata ng Agila,
Mata ng Agila. Mata ng Agila International.
Trusted, connected, on point.
The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, rebuked the claims of Chinese General Zhang Zhen demeaning the arbitral ruling that favors the Philippines over China. On July 12, 2016, the Philippines won the arbitration case it lodged against China after the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague, Netherlands, invalidated Beijing's 9-line claim that covers nearly the entire South China Sea. The invisible demarcation outlines China's extensive claims over the South China Sea, which also extends to large parts of the Philippines' 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. These claims, the tribunal said, exceed the geographic and substantive limits of China's maritime entitlements provided for by the UNCLOS. The arbitral tribunal, constituted under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas, or UNCLOS, also stated that the Philippines has exclusive sovereign rights over the West Philippine Sea. But during a visit to Iloilo City on February 8, Consul General Zhen said that China would never accept the Hague ruling, insisting that its supposed ownership of almost the entire South China Sea, including the West Philippine Sea, is purportedly based on historical facts and international law. Zhen even said that the arbitral ruling on the West Philippine Sea is null and void. A local newspaper in Iloilo City reported that Zhen provided the press with a 41-page briefer on China's historic claims in the area to set the record straight. DFA spokesperson Maria Teresita Daza defended the Philippines' position and called out China for its continued misinterpretation of law and facts on the West Philippine Sea. Daza also reminded Zhen and Beijing that the Philippines and China are both parties to UNCLOS. To reiterate, Daza said that they have and will consistently call on China to act responsibly and abide by its obligations under UNCLOS and the final and binding 2016 arbitral award on the South China Sea. Amid this word war between Philippines and China, the Philippine Coast Guard and Filipino fishermen have continued to report harassment from China. In a press briefing on Tuesday, the Philippine Navy also reported that 14 Chinese vessels were spotted in some features of the Kalayaan Island group in the West Philippine Sea. China has not yet released any comment on the recent issue.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has approved the 10-year Maritime Industry Development Plan, or MIDP 2028, which will serve as the guiding blueprint for the advancement of the maritime sector in the country. President Marcos said, and I quote, "To fully realize our potential as a maritime nation, the country requires a clearly defined and coordinated roadmap that shall accelerate the integrated development of the Philippine maritime industry. As part of the program, efforts will be made to modernize and expand domestic shipping capabilities, as well as to enhance the promotion and expansion of the overseas shipping industry." These initiatives aim to bolster the country's maritime infrastructure and strengthen its position as a maritime powerhouse in the region by establishing a robust and dependable Philippine merchant fleet. The Maritime Industry Authority will be tasked with implementing, monitoring, and reviewing the MIDP to ensure its effective execution.
The Philippines has donated $100,000 or an estimated 5.5 million pesos to support Myanmar's recovery efforts from Cyclone Mocha. The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, said it turned over the donation on February 6 to the ASEAN Secretariat, saying the Philippines wants to show its solidarity with the people of Myanmar. Philippine Permanent Representative to ASEAN, J. Silin Quintana, noted that Myanmar, like the Philippines, is prone to natural disasters. She said that the Philippines must help build ASEAN's capacity to withstand and recover from such events in the future. ASEAN Secretary General Dr. Kao Kim Horn lauded the Philippines' staunch support for disaster management and humanitarian assistance in Southeast Asia. Cyclone Mocha was one of the strongest cyclones to hit Myanmar when it made landfall in Rakhine State on May 14, 2023. Its wind speeds, which reached more than 250 kilometers per hour, affected about 1.23 million in Myanmar. The deadly storm killed at least 460 people and demolished several villages.
Efforts from the government are ramping up as El Niño's affects 41 provinces based on the latest assessment of Pag-asa. This was further confirmed with the latest statement of Task Force El Niño Chair and Defense Secretary Gilberto Chodoro as he calls for unifying efforts among government agencies in mitigating the impact of drought. Under Executive Order 53, reactivating and reconstituting the Task Force El Niño, the task force is mandated to develop a comprehensive disaster preparedness and rehabilitation plan for the said phenomena, and to come up with mitigation measures and ensure the readiness of the agencies involved. Secretary Chodoro also reinforced the need for public engagement in preventing the further effect of El Niño, which is expected to persist until May this year.
Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte stressed the need to push for flagship projects for teachers and learners during her visit in Malaysia. Duterte is also the current president of the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education, CIMEO. Established in 1965, CIMEO is a regional intergovernmental organization that promotes regional cooperation in education, science, and culture in Southeast Asia. Vice President Duterte is in Malaysia to attend courtesy calls with Malaysian Minister of Education Fadlina Sidek and Deputy Prime Minister Dato Seri Fadila Yusof. She said that she hopes to work with the Malaysian government concerning teacher education and learners' protection and well-being. She will also visit Trop Med School in the CIMEO Center and Setapak Vocational College. Meanwhile, the Vice President assured the public that she remains to have a good relationship with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. She added that she and Marcos have not discussed the tirades of his father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, and his brother, Davao City Mayor Sebastian Duterte, against the president. But Vice President Duterte said she would relay President Marcos' message of love to Filipino workers in Malaysia.
The Senate has passed Senate Bill 2505, also known as the proposed Eddie Garcia Law, to curtail various forms of abuse in the movie and television industries. This bill is designed to safeguard workers from prolonged working hours, harassment, hazardous conditions, and economic exploitation. Under the provisions of the new law, workers will also be entitled to fair wages, Social Security benefits, welfare provisions, and insurance coverage, among other protections. The bill was named in honor of the late veteran actor Eddie Garcia, who passed away in 2019 due to a neck injury sustained while filming for a television series. This legislation seeks to prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. A rollback on oil pump price is in effect today. Oil firms said that gasoline prices have dropped by 60 centavos per liter. Diesel price has lowered by 10 centavos per liter. Meanwhile, kerosene price was cut by 40 centavos per liter. According to the Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau, the rollback is due to the slowing demands and additional supply in the world market. Coming up, a former Thai prime minister has been granted parole. Trump asked the Supreme Court to pause his immunity ruling. And Joe Biden seeks an end to the Israel-Gaza war. Stay tuned for more stories around the globe when we return.
Mga problemang may kinalaman sa pang-araw-araw na pamumuhay.
Ano sa palagay niyo?
Katiwalian at korupsyon sa kung saan-saan.
Ano sa palagay niyo?
Kalusugan,
Ano sa palagay niyo?
edukasyon,
Ano sa palagay nyo?
hanap buhay.
Ano sa palagay nyo?
Ang daming issue. Samahan ninyo sina Ali Soto at Pat P. Daza sa pagbusisi sa lahat ng yan at iba pa. Ano sa palagay nyo? Year 3 na!
Let's get together. Sunday 25. Sunday 25.
This portion is brought to you by North Luzon Express Terminal.
Welcome back to Matanang Agila International. Myanmar's military government has implemented compulsory military service for all young men and women as it struggles with rebel groups in various regions in the country. According to the local state media, all men aged 18 to 35 and women aged 18 to 27 are required to serve for up to 2 years. Specialists such as doctors up to the age of 45 must serve for 3 years. Additionally, the service can be extended up to a total of 5 years during the ongoing state of emergency. Myanmar's junta spokesman Zhao Min-tun emphasized that the responsibility to protect and defend the nation extends beyond just the armed forces, but also to all citizens.
စစ်မှုထမ်းဥပဒေ၏ဏ္ဍန်ပိုင်းတွင်နိုင်ငံသားတိုင်းသည်ပြည်ထောင်စုမပြိုကွဲရေးတိုင်းသားစီလုံးညီညွတ်မှုမပြိုကွဲရေးနှင့်အချုပ်အခြာအာဏာတည်တံ့ခိုင်မြဲရေးဟူသည့်ဒုတာဝန်အရေးသုံးပါးကိုစောင့်ထိန်ရန်တာဝန်ရှိသဖြင့်ရင်းတာဝန်ကိုထမ်းဆောင်နိုင်ရေးအလို့ငါစစ်ပညာသင်ကြားရန်နှင့်နိုင်ငံတော်ကာကွယ်ရေးအတွက်စစ်မှုထမ်းဆောင်နိုင်ရန်ဥပဒေပြဋ္ဌာန်းရခြင်းဖြစ်ကြောင်းတတ်မှတ်ပြဋ္ဌာန်းချက်နှင့်အညီဆောင်ရွက်ခြင်းဖြစ်တယ်လို့သိရှိရပါတယ်ခင်ဗျာ
Thailand's jailed former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra is set to be freed. Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin told reporters that Thaksin, who was jailed for 8 years for abuse of power before a royal pardon reduced the term to 1 year, was granted release on parole. Thaksin returned to Thailand last August following more than 14 years in exile and was taken immediately to court where he was jailed for 8 years for abuse of power. Thaksin was transferred to a hospital after a single night in prison when his blood pressure soared. Soon after, Thailand's king gave him a royal pardon, reducing the sentence to 1 year. Justice Minister Tawi Sodsong said that Thaksin was among 930 inmates given parole and is expected to be released after February 17. Thaksin rose to power in 2001 on a populist platform that appealed to rural Thais who had long been neglected by the country's ruling elites. Thaksin was also accused of serious human rights abuses amid a violent conflict in the country's southern provinces and a drug war, which killed thousands, and was later convicted of abuse of power before going into exile.
Indonesia, the world's third largest democracy, is set to commence its polls on Wednesday, welcoming nearly 205 million eligible voters for presidential and legislative elections. This presidential election is set to determine President Joko Widodo's successor, who is currently serving his second and final term. The electoral landscape is marked by a three-way contest featuring current Defense Minister Prabowo Subianto, along with two former governors, Anies Baswedan and Ganjar Pranowo. In the event that none of the candidates secures more than 50% of the votes in the initial round, a runoff between the top two contenders is slated for June 26th. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of candidates across Indonesia are vying for around 20,000 national, provincial, and district parliamentary positions.
State media KCNA said that North Korea successfully tested a new rocket launcher control system. The test firing of the 240-millimeter multiple rocket launcher was conducted by Pyongyang's Academy of Defense Science. North Korea would also reevaluate the strategic value of the rocket launcher on the battlefield. The development of the shell and the ballistic control system, according to KCNA, will also make a qualitative change in North Korea's multiple rocket launcher force.
The United States Secretary of Defense was treated under general anesthesia for bladder issues as he battles prostate cancer. His doctors say he is ready to resume work duties shortly. Ken Cruz has more.
Doctors have cleared Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin to resume normal work Tuesday. This after he was treated for bladder issues. The Defense Secretary is battling prostate cancer. Pentagon spokesperson Pat Ryder says Austin does not need extended hospitalization.
Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin III underwent non-surgical procedures under general anesthesia to address his bladder issue. We anticipate a successful recovery and will closely monitor him overnight. A prolonged hospital stay is not anticipated. We anticipate the Secretary will be able to resume his normal duties tomorrow.
Austin's doctors add that this current bladder issue is not expected to change his anticipated full recovery. His cancer prognosis, they say, remains excellent. Ken Cruz from Matanong Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Vice President Kamala Harris says she is ready to serve as concerns over United States President Joe Biden's age and mental fitness continue to grow. Harris made the statement during a recent interview after some reports on Biden's mishandling of classified documents described the president's memory as having significant limitations. Harris asserts that she is ready to serve as a leader, and there's no question about that, insisting that everyone who observes her works walks away fully aware of her capacity to lead.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court to block a lower court ruling. The ruling had denied his claim to immunity for alleged crimes while he was president. Ralph Cornell tells us more.
Donald Trump is asking America's top court to delay a criminal trial into whether he tried to overturn the 2020 U.S. presidential elections. This after 3 judges on the U.S. Court of Appeals rejected Trump's claim to blanket immunity. The judges say Trump's argument that he is immune from criminal liability for actions he took while in the White House is unsupported by precedent, history, or text and structure of the Constitution. The appeal puts Trump's fate in the Supreme Court's hands 9 months before Election Day. The 9 Supreme Court justices must now decide whether to take the case or decline it. If they refuse to hear the case, the lower court's ruling will stand. If Trump succeeds in delaying the criminal trial until after the election and wins another term, he could potentially order federal cases against him to be dropped. Ralph Cornell from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
House Speaker Mike Johnson criticized a $95.3 billion aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and other countries, casting serious doubts about the future of the package. This comes as Senate leaders are trying to send a message that the U.S. remains committed to its allies while looking to overcome resistance from a determined group of Republican senators and hold a vote to pass the bill. Mike Johnson has issued a statement saying, and I quote, "The package lacked border security provisions," going as far as to call it silent on the most pressing issue facing their country. As Republican leader Mitch McConnell and 17 other GOP senators have provided the votes to ensure the foreign aid package clears the Senate, Johnson has shown no sign he will put the package up for a vote. This has been the latest sign of opposition to the Ukraine aid from conservatives who have demanded that border security policy be included in the package. Even as the package passes the Senate, it faces an uncertain future in the House, where Republicans are more firmly aligned with Trump and deeply skeptical of continuing to aid Ukraine in its war against Russia.
U.S. President Joe Biden says the United States is trying to secure at least a 6-week pause in the fighting between Israel and Hamas.
As the King and I discussed today, the United States is working on a hostage deal between Israel and Hamas, which would bring an immediate and sustained period of calm to Gaza for at least 6 weeks, which we could then take the time to build something more enduring. Over the past month, I've had calls with Prime Minister Netanyahu, as well as the leaders of Egypt and Qatar, to push this forward.
Are you concerned about are you close to a hostage deal?
Biden spoke to reporters after a meeting with King Abdullah of Jordan at the White House that the U.S. and others have been trying to broker an agreement to pause the fighting in Gaza and secure the release of the hostages being held by Hamas. Biden said the U.S. is working on a deal that will bring an immediate and sustained period of calm to Gaza for at least 6 weeks. He added that he has been encouraging Israeli leaders to keep working to achieve a deal, saying the United States will do everything possible to make it happen. The president reiterated that Israel should not conduct a major operation without a credible plan that will ensure the safety of the refugees sheltered in the southern Gazan city of Rafah.
The major military operation in Rafah should not proceed without a credible plan for ensuring the safety and support of more than 1 million people sheltering.
King Abdullah said an Israeli attack on Rafah is certain to produce another humanitarian catastrophe, adding that a lasting ceasefire is needed immediately.
We cannot afford an Israeli attack on Rafah. It is certain to produce another humanitarian catastrophe. The situation is already unbearable for over 1 million people who have been pushed into Rafah since the war started. We cannot stand by and let this continue. We need a lasting ceasefire now. This war must end.
The United Nations says the prospect of a full Israeli incursion into the cramped Gaza town of Rafah is terrifying. The UN says it risks an extremely high number of casualties. Jeff Sanidad reports.
In a statement, United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk warns of what a full-fledged military incursion into Rafah means.
A potential full-fledged military incursion into Rafah, where some 1.5 million Palestinians are packed against the Egyptian border with nowhere further to flee, is terrifying. An extremely high number of civilians, mostly women and children, will likely be killed or injured. We have warned against actions violating the laws of war. The prospect of such an operation into Rafah risks further atrocity crimes.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vows to send ground troops into the crowded Rafah area. This as part of his goal of eliminating Hamas. Turk urges world powers to help stop rather than empower.
The world must not allow this to happen. Those with influence must restrain rather than enable. There must be an immediate ceasefire. All remaining hostages must be released, and there must be renewed collective resolve to reach a political solution.
Turk says those who defy international law have been put on notice and accountability must follow. Jeff Sanidad for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Elon Musk has refuted claims that his Starlink internet service is being sold to Russia amidst allegations from Ukraine that the terminals are being utilized by Russian troops on the front lines of the conflict. In his statement, Musk specifically clarified that a number of false news reports claim that SpaceX is selling Starlink terminals to Russia and that this is categorically false. He further asserted that, and I quote, "To the best of their knowledge, no Starlink terminals have been sold either directly or indirectly to Russia." This denial has been supported by Moscow, which has also dismissed Kyiv's assertions regarding the smuggling of Starlink terminals into Russia for systematic use in Donetsk.
Canada's BlackBerry is targeting an additional increase of $100 million in its annual profit. The catch? The cybersecurity firm would also cut costs and reduce its workforce. BlackBerry explained that reducing costs further in the current quarter with additional layoffs in the cybersecurity business would provide yearly savings of about $27 million.
It is.
Jazzwares, the maker of Squishmallows, filed an intellectual property lawsuit in California against Build-A-Bear Workshop. Jazzwares said Build-A-Bear's Scoosh Shares plush toys are too similar to its Squishmallows egg-shaped cushion animal characters sold in 2017. Not to be outdone, Build-A-Bear launched a suit against Jazzwares, arguing Scoosh Shares are based on its existing plush animals. Neither Jazzwares or Build-A-Bear immediately responded to requests for additional comment. Up next, an unusual weather phenomenon strikes an Indian city. A huge fire breaks out at Swedish amusement park. And Google has announced a huge pledge to boost AI literacy and skills development in Europe. Please don't go away. We've got more stories when Matanang Agila International returns.
Makaka-relate kay you.
Menopause.
Yes.
Meron ka bang nararamdaman ng mga signs ng menopause?
Menopause really happens. In my case, I had a condition called endometriosis.
Miss Corina, ganda po ng hair niyo. Ano pong shampoo niyo?
Mapa-senior man kay you.
My apos are here. They're here with me and they give me such joy. And so, kung hindi ako magtatrabaho, how could I spoil them?
O Gen Z,
Nar is actually an accent from Australia. So like when you say no, you don't say no. They say nar.
bida kayo dito.
Sumay!
Let's just always choose to be kind.
Kaya ugaliin ang tumutok kung saan masaya at maganda ang simula ng araw. 10 a.m. to 12, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, kada umaga.
Let's get together. Sunday 25.
Senate 25.
In India, residents are seeking relief after a swarm of mosquitoes created tornado-like formations in the sky. Experts said the formation of the mosquito tornado is attributed to the increased water levels of the Mula-Mota River. Local officials said that recent weather conditions in the city have reportedly allowed it to be a favorable breeding ground for the insect. Stagnant water is the prime breeding spot for mosquitoes as they breed by laying eggs in the said waters. U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention noted that mosquitoes are the world's deadliest animal as they can kill hundreds of thousands of people and make millions more ill every year.
The management of a Swedish amusement park evacuated the people after the water park attraction exploded. Footage show the installation at the Oceana Water Worlds in Gothenburg, Sweden, ablaze. The firefighters rushed to the scene to contain the fire. The alarm was raised around 10 in the morning. Sweden's emergency services said the flames spread out of control after a blast occurred. Local officials issued a public health notice, and residents nearby were advised to immediately get inside to escape the toxic fumes.
A barrage of gunshots were heard at a New York subway station, leaving at least one person dead. Carlo Valdez has the details.
One person is dead and 5 injured after a gunman opens fire at a New York subway station. Firefighters say this happened just ahead of the busy Monday afternoon rush hour. Authorities say the injured were taken to a hospital. 4 are in serious condition and 1 has minor injuries. The incident is said to have started as a fight inside the train. It then spilled out onto the subway platform. Carlo Valdez from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Meanwhile, in India, police set up barricades and banned public gatherings ahead of threatened protests of farmers over crop prices. David Oria reports.
Thousands of farmers are ready for mass protests to demand minimum crop prices. Long convoys of tractors gather on borders between the capital, New Delhi, and neighboring Haryana state. In a bid to stop farmers from marching on Parliament, police are using fearsome blockade of metal spikes, barriers, and cement blocks to close key highways. Indian farmers have called for a Delhi Chalo, or March to Delhi. This echoes protests in January 2021 when farmers breached barricades and marched into the city on Republic Day. Farmers in India have political weight because of their sheer numbers. The threat of renewed protests comes ahead of national elections likely to begin in April. Government figures show that 2/3 of India's 1.4 billion population draw their livelihood from agriculture. This accounts for nearly a fifth of the country's GDP. Aside from a fixed crop price, other farmers' demands include pensions and the writing off loans. Delhi police have banned public gatherings of more than 5 people. Protests by farmers against agricultural reform bills in November 2020 lasted for more than a year. At least 700 people were killed during the protests. David Oria from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Parts of a massive and centuries-old network of cities in Ecuador are under threat from the building of roads and farming. Myla Simbulan has the details.
Protected by the jungle for hundreds of years, parts of a massive 2,500-year-old network of cities in Ecuador are a threat of destruction from the building of roads and farming. Traces of what is called the Lost City in the Amazon were first mentioned in 1978. The extent, however, of what is now believed to be the largest and oldest network of pre-Hispanic cities was unveiled last year. This after laser technology was used to map the area from above. Spanish archaeologist Alejandra has been studying the site for a decade. She says it is a map in which different settlements can be seen. Large settlements that are interconnected as if looking at a pre-Hispanic road map. Sanchez says it was thought that they were natural structures and were cut down to build roads. Thus, she says there is an urgent need for a protection plan and not just for research. Head of Ecuador's National Institute of Cultural Heritage, Maria Catalina Tello, says conservation and enhancement actions have changed a lot over time. In the 1980s, Tello says the focus was on discovering sites. She says discovering sites means removing vegetation layers from them. It is important to consider that this time, Tello adds, that the vegetation cover is also part of a protected park. Myla Simbulan for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Google has about 25 million euros or $26.98 million to boost people's AI skills in Europe. The tech giant has also announced that it has launched applications for social enterprises and nonprofit training. Google disclosed that it will also run a series of growth academies to help companies using AI. It has also expanded its free online AI training courses to 18 languages. Last month, Google said it would invest $1 billion into constructing a data center in London. This is to achieve the growing demand for internet services in the region.
The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA, has announced that it will delay the launch of its H-3 flagship rocket due to bad weather forecasts. The initial launch date of the second model of the H-3 is planned for February 15. JAXA has yet to announce the new launch date. Meanwhile, Japan intended to retire its H-2A rocket, which it had used on the Moon Sniper mission.
The White House says TikTok is still banned from use on government devices. This despite U.S. President Joe Biden joining the app on Sunday, marking his debut on the social media platform with a 26-second video. Rose Papa Angeles tells us more.
Two great quarterbacks, hard to decide. But if I didn't say I was for the Eagles, then I'd be sleeping alone. My wife's a Philly girl.
U.S. President Joe Biden joins TikTok, marking his first time on the social media platform. In Sunday's video posted on the @Biden HQ campaign account, the 81-year-old Democrat touches lightheartedly on topics ranging from politics to the NFL championship game. The move comes after fierce U.S. government criticism of the video sharing platform in recent years, not only from Republicans but also from the Biden administration. Despite Biden debuting on the platform, National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says TikTok is still not allowed for use on U.S. government devices.
As you know, it's not approved for use on government devices, and that remains the case today. And I think, again, I don't want to get into too much of the national security technical reasons behind that, but it does have to do with concerns about the preservation of data and the potential misuse of that data and privacy information by foreign actors. I think that's as far as I can go.
TikTok is owned by Chinese firm ByteDance. It has been accused by a wide swath of U.S. politicians of being a propaganda tool used by Beijing. TikTok furiously denies the accusation. Rose Papa Angeles from Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Coming right up, the Rio Carnival opens with glitter, feathers, and a political message. NBA rookie phenom Victor Wembanyama posts a historic performance against the Raptors. And Blackpink's Lisa makes her Hollywood debut in a hit TV show. Catch the latest in sports and entertainment. Mata ng Agila International will be back.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Let's get together. Sunday 25. Sunday 25.
Gusto lang naman ni Mas papapagaw pa wala. Unlimited authentic samgyupsal. Paparating na!
Kaya mo ba magdala dito ng authentic unlimited samgyupsal?
Meron po. Naalala mo dati nung humingi ka sa akin pakwan, tas nasa loob mangga.
Ikaw po din sa kasama mo?
Positive. Wait lang. May kukunin na ako. Punta na tayo sa ospital.
Ever, hindi COVID.
Ano nga?
John is on the radio. This is Agila FM 95.5.
Alternative Friday on Agila FM 95.5.
Backstreet's back. All right.
DJ Jem checking in for Daily G, taking care of the music.
We're bringing back the good times on radio.
Peachy, I'll take good care of the music for you.
Eagle FM 95.5, where the classic hits never end.
Strike Man right here, Rick Striker. It is World Radio Day. Thank you so much sa patuloy na pagtangkilik sa radyo. Keep on listening to the radio.
Hello po! Ako po si Smokey Manaloto, ang inyong designated chef para sa Lutong Dasa ngayong Sabado, 11 a.m. Ang mga lulutuin ay Chinese lumpia, turmeric chicken, pinsek frito at squid rings with black bean sauce. Ngayong Sabado lang yan, alas 11 sa Lutong Dasa. Ako po, si Smokey Manaloto.
Let's get together. Sunday 25. Sunday 25.
Royal expert Ingrid Seward says Prince William is upset over his brother Prince Harry's quick visit to King Charles. Prince Harry spent nearly 24 hours in London to see the ailing king. Royal insiders said that Harry did not meet William or Kate, who is currently recovering from her surgery. Seward dubs Harry's visit as a PR stint and claims that the prince has absolutely no interest in reconciling. He also claims that Prince William has absolutely no interest in speaking to Harry until Harry behaves like a gentleman and apologizes for the years of rudeness he has aimed at William and the Princess of Wales, Kate Middleton. Meanwhile, close friends of Harry's disclosed that Harry had said he would have gladly accepted a chance to see Prince William. However, that opportunity did not arise.
Rio de Janeiro's vibrant and lively carnival has made its return for 2024, featuring dazzling float and performances paying homage to the Amazon rainforest and Brazil's indigenous communities.
É o espetáculo do mundo, o maior espetáculo do mundo. Então é para a galera abrir mais os olhos para coisas que às vezes são passadas despercebidas, né?
Amid the festivities, some 70,000 spectators cheered on as 12 samba schools competed for the prestigious title of Carnival Champions across 2 exhilarating nights of dancing and revelry. Yet beyond the exuberant party atmosphere, the carnival serves as a platform for storytelling, with each parade conveying narratives that often touch upon politics, social issues, and historical themes. This year's parades encompass a diverse array of tributes, including honoring little-known heroes of Afro-Brazilian history, paying homage to the iconic samba singer Alcione, and celebrating the resilience of the Yanomami indigenous people.
E quando fala dos índios, para quem conhece toda a história, sabe do que eles sofrem. Cabe a gente, né, mostrar isso para o pessoal ter essa noção que isso de fato acontece. Não aconteceu, não, acontece ainda, né?
San Antonio super prospect Victor Wembanyama becomes the first NBA rookie in 34 years to record a triple-double with blocks. Vin Pasqua has the score.
In the NBA, Victor Wembanyama became the first rookie in nearly 34 years to have a triple-double, with block shots leading the visiting San Antonio Spurs to a 122-99 victory over the Toronto Raptors.
Wemby open, three, good.
Wembanyama amassed 27 points, 14 rebounds, and a career-best 10 block shots. The only other rookie to post a triple-double with block shots in NBA history were David Robinson, Ralph Sampson, and Mark Eaton. Wemby's efforts puts Wembanyama in rare company as he becomes the first player since Hakeem Olajuwon in 1996 to tally 20-plus points, 10-plus rebounds, 10-plus blocks, and 5 assists in a single game. The number 1 NBA draft pick is in the midst of a remarkable rookie campaign that's largely seen him meet the high expectation that he arrived within the NBA. He entered Monday averaging 20.3 points, 10 rebounds, 3.1 assists, 1.1 steals, and a league-best 3 blocks per game while shooting 46.4% from the floor and 31.6% from three-point range on 4.9 attempts per game. His percentages and efficiency only project to improve as his game matures. The next step will be translating his individual accolades into team success as the Spurs entered the game with a 10-43 record in the West. Grady Dick scored 18 points, Kelly Olynyk had 17, and RJ Barrett 13 for the Raptors, who had won the past 6 meetings with San Antonio.
Since I'm with the Spurs, I've learned a little bit about him and watched a little bit of tape. So it's it's great company, to have my name next to him, and I guess it counts even more since it's family. It's from the Spurs.
Reporting for Sports, Vin Pascua for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Blackpink member Lisa has joined the cast of the 3rd season of the hit HBO series, The White Lotus. Stephanie Mayo has the scoop.
Lisa of the mega K-pop group Blackpink will make her acting debut on the 3rd season of The White Lotus and will be credited under her given name, Lalisa Manobal. HBO confirmed the news Monday, along with the announcement that Scott Glenn and Julian Kostov will also be joining the cast, which will be part of the new group of guests at a White Lotus resort property in Thailand. As of right now, the details surrounding Lisa's role are being kept under wraps, but she will be joining a large ensemble, which includes Michelle Monaghan, Leslie Bibb, Parker Posey, Patrick Schwarzenegger, Jason Isaacs, and more. The first season of Mike White's HBO anthology series bagged 20 Emmy nominations and 10 wins, while the Sicily-based second season received 23 Emmy nods and took home 5 awards. Season 3 is set to begin production this month in and around Koh Samui, Phuket, and Bangkok. Stephanie Mayo for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Meanwhile, a new batch of artists has been released by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for its class of 2024, where 2/3 of the artists on the list are being nominated for the first time. Catherine Ortula has the scoop.
The ballots are ready as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announces the inaugural slate of nominees who will receive rock's highest honor this year. Among the 15 chosen inductees are performers who have received their first ever nomination. These include superstars ranging from Cher, Mariah Carey, Lenny Kravitz, Sade, Oasis, and the late Sinead O'Connor. Returning for a chance on the Hall of Fame is the band A Tribe Called Quest, which previously scored 2 nominations. Ozzy Osbourne also has the chance to join the double inductee club after receiving the honor with his previous band in 2006. In a statement by John Skies, chairman of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation, he says that these artists have created their own sounds that have impacted generations and influenced countless others that have followed in their footsteps. artists become eligible for the nomination 25 years after they have released their first commercial recording. The hall's electorates, composed of more than 1,000 artists, historians, and members of the music industry, will vote for the new batch of finalists. This will then be revealed in April at this year's induction ceremony taking place at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's home in Cleveland, Ohio. Catherine Artula for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Beyoncé may have successfully broken the internet by announcing the second album in her Renaissance trilogy, which will be released on March 29.
You ain't gonna break me.
Still works.
Okay, they ready. Drop the new music.
Okay, they ready. Drop the new music. This was the only thing she needed to say to send the Bayhive into a frenzy. This was originally meant to be an ad that was shown during the 58th Super Bowl, where the pop star was trying to break the internet. Shortly after the ad was broadcast, a new clip was posted to Beyoncé's Instagram, teasing the single Texas Hold'em and promising the Renaissance Act 2 dropping late this March. Beyoncé fans have been expecting a new accompaniment to Renaissance since the first album was released in July 2022, but did not expect Act 2 to be a country-themed accompaniment to the dance and house music classic. Beyoncé's Renaissance tour grossed $579 million and was followed by Renaissance, a film by Beyoncé, a part documentary, part concert film, which hit cinemas last December.
No doubt about it, Beyoncé is the true embodiment of women empowerment.
Oh yes, she is one of my favorite artists. I actually got to watch her live when I was in Toronto a few years ago, and it's incredible. I feel like as she's getting older, she's constantly reinventing herself to become even better. And I don't know if you've seen her recent concert videos, but her daughter, Blue Ivy, actually dances during the concert as well. So I feel like she's going to make generations and generations of Beyoncés.
Yeah. And I think it's the knowing how to reinvent yourself that really gives her the staying power. She's been famous since like the early or the mid-90s, and she's still around and still as popular. And then we just report about her launching her hair brand as well. That's right. And that's so amazing because she keeps getting better.
Yes, one of my favorite quotes ever is always remember that Beyoncé also has 24 hours in a day. So you got to think about what you do during your 24 hours because she just seems so productive, and she's also a mom. So it's great that she's handling all these things. Now a businesswoman. I really admire her.
She can either inspire you or frustrate you. Your choice.
For sure, for sure.
And to send you off tonight, here's a quote from American author and disability rights advocate Helen Keller. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence.
And speaking of empowered women, I mean, Helen Keller broke a lot of odds as well and was able to, really touch so many people's lives through breaking those odds.
Spoken like a true person of faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when we talk about optimism, she is also an inspiration for that.
Definitely, because given her condition and her limitations, she's still able to touch the world and really be a global influence all of these years.
I think we can also learn that do not let anything limit you, just in the same way Helen Keller did.
And Helen Keller did what she did. What's our excuse?
Exactly, that's true.
So for those of you who are still on the road, please don't forget to tune in yet again to Eagle FM 95.5.
You can also catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Elago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Thank you for choosing Mata ng Agila International, your trusted news source, connecting you to the world and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to @Net25TV.